the night he signed the biggest deal of his life. Tuấn couldn't sleep, not from happiness, not from worry, but because for the first time in 10 years, he didn't know what to think about anymore. He had finally gotten everything he ever wanted, and it didn't feel the way he thought it would. 10 years ago, Tuấn was a man with one purpose. Not a vague dream, a specific number, a specific name, a specific day. He taped it to the wall of his rented room, looked at it every morning when he woke up, looked at it every night before he slept, and he ran toward it. No looking sideways, no slowing down, just running. Every failure became fuel. Every sleepless night became an investment. Every sacrifice, friendships, rest, quiet afternoons that meant nothing, became the price he paid. And finally, the price was paid. He stood at the hotel window, looking down at the city below, and he realized something strange. He didn't know what he liked. Not what he wanted next, but what he actually liked. What colors made him stop walking? What music made him want to sit still? What mornings he would wake up without needing a reason? For 10 years, he had known exactly what he wanted. But all those things were destinations. They were not him. And now that the destination had arrived, he no longer knew who he was without it. There is a psychological state researchers call post-achievement emptiness, the hollowness that arrives after getting what you wanted. But almost no one talks about it, because it doesn't look like suffering from the outside. No tears, no obvious reason to complain, no visible wound. Just a strange flatness, like the silence after music stops too suddenly. People often mistake it for ingratitude. I have everything, and I'm still not happy. I must be asking for too much. But it isn't ingratitude. It is what happens when a person spends so many years living for the future that they forget how to live in the present. Tuấn realized something that night. For the past 10 years, he hadn't really been living. He had been postponing his life. When I have enough money, I'll finally rest. When the company is stable, I'll see my friends again. When I reach this goal, then I'll start enjoying things. But that day never came, because every time one goal was reached, another one was already waiting. And now, for the first time, there was no next goal. And he didn't know who he was. Not because he had failed, but because for 10 years his identity had dissolved into his ambition. He was no longer Tuấn, the man with things he loved, things that made him laugh, mornings he wanted to wake up for with no particular reason. He had only become Tuấn the CEO, Tuấn the deal maker, Tuấn the man running toward a finish line. And now that the line was crossed, who was the man left standing? The next morning, Tuấn walked outside. No reason, no appointment, just walking. In a quiet alley, he found an old man painting. Not painting to sell, not painting to display, just painting. Tuấn sat down beside him. He didn't know why. "How long have you been painting?" Since I was a child. Did you ever want to do something else? The old man stopped his brush, looked at Tuan. You're asking because you're looking for an answer for yourself? Tuan said nothing. The old man set his brush down, looked up at the sky. There is a word in Taoism, Su. People translate it as emptiness, but that's not quite right. Su is the space that allows something new to appear. A cup that is full cannot hold more water. A cup that is empty can hold anything. You have just become empty. That is not a loss. That is a beginning. The Tao Te Ching says, 30 spokes share the wheel's hub. It is the center hole that makes it useful. Lao Tzu was not saying that success is wrong. He was saying that people confuse the vessel for the water. Tuan had run for 10 years toward a destination, and when he arrived, he realized something. He had forgotten who was doing the running. Not because he had failed, but because he had let himself become a tool of his goals, instead of letting his goals be tools of himself. And the emptiness he felt that night was not the price of success. It was the first open space he had been given to find himself again. But here is the most dangerous moment. The most natural human response to emptiness is to immediately rush toward a new goal. Because emptiness creates anxiety. Because silence is uncomfortable. Because the human mind is wired to fill every empty space. But Lao Tzu says that is precisely the trap. Tuan stayed until the sun had fully risen. He didn't sign emails. He didn't plan the next month. He didn't think about the next goal. He just sat. And for the first time in 10 years, that was enough. If you are running towards something, keep running. Work hard, build, achieve. But sometimes stop and ask yourself, who is the person doing the running? Really? Because success without knowing who you are is just a beautiful room where you don't feel at home. And Shu, the emptiness, is not something to fear. It is the place where you begin to find yourself again. But here is the most dangerous moment. The most natural human response to emptiness is to immediately rush toward a new goal. Because emptiness creates anxiety. Because silence is uncomfortable. Because the human mind is wired to fill every empty space. But Lao Tzu says that is precisely the trap. So what should you actually do inside the emptiness? Follow along for the next part to find out. Have you ever reached a goal and felt strangely empty? Tell me below. I read every single one.